They laughed when a wealthy girl named Olivia married a poor black man, Henry, convinced she was ruining her future. Years later, those same people were jealous of her life. How did their love story turn into the fairy tale everyone desires? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today, and if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe. The sun went down low in the sky, giving the busy city streets a warm glow. A young woman named Olivia Benjamin, who had golden hair and bright blue eyes, was lost in a part of town she didn't know. The sound of her designer heels hitting the ground as she moved made the plain clothes around her stand out. Her silk blouse and tailored pants were especially noticeable. She heard soft music as she turned a corner. Olivia stopped and cocked her head to listen. The tune wasn't like anything she'd heard at the fancy parties and galas she usually went to. It was honest, emotional, and full of feeling. She followed the sound to a small diner that was tucked between two bigger buildings. The neon sign flickered a little, giving the path a soft blue glow. Olivia could see a single person at the far end of the room through the window. A few people were sitting in worn-out seats, and their attention was on that person. Olivia opened the door after taking a big breath. The soft bell rang to let them know she was there, but no one looked up because they were all listening to the music. Olivia's eyes went to where the music was coming from. A young black man holding a guitar stood on a small stage that had been made out of cardboard boxes. He sang with his eyes closed. His voice was deep and full of emotion that seemed to reach every part of the room. The musician's eyes flew open as if he could feel her there. When he looked at Olivia, the world stopped for a moment. Olivia's heart skipped a beat as she looked into his warm brown eyes. They were so full of depth and truthfulness that they made her gasp for air. The link was fast and electric. Olivia was pulled to this stranger. It wasn't just his music that interested her. It was also the raw honesty in his face. It was so different from the world she was used to, which was smooth and man-made. Olivia had moved toward the stage without noticing. She found an open seat at the bar and kept her eyes on the musician as he played. She felt like he was singing right to her, telling her a story about battles and dreams, hope and sticking with things even when things get hard. The diner exploded in cheers when the song was over. Olivia did it, and her heart was beating fast. Before leaving the stage, the guitarist smiled shyly and gave a small bow. Seeing him move through the crowd made Olivia want to talk to him so badly. It moved her, and in just a few minutes, he had shown her a world of love and desire she had never known existed. She wanted to tell him that. Olivia took a deep breath, and when the cheers stopped, she went up to Henry, a young black guy who loved music. As she moved toward the homemade stage where he was putting away his guitar, her heart beat faster. "Excuse me," she said, in a low voice. Henry looked up, and his warm brown eyes met hers again. "I just wanted to tell you how amazing your performance was. Your music? It's truly special." Henry had a real smile on his face. "Thank you," he said, and his voice was as rich and beautiful as when he sang. "I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm Henry, by the way." "Olivia," she said, putting out her hand, intro. As soon as they shook hands, she felt like she knew him. "I've never heard anything quite like your music before. It's so honest." Henry laughed and ran his hand through his short, curly hair. "I try to put my heart into every song. It's not always easy, but it's the only way I know how to play." They felt like they had known each other for years because the conversation was so comfortable. Olivia was deeply moved by Henry's excitement as he talked about his love for music. Henry said, with big, happy eyes, "I've been playing since I was a kid. It's always been my dream to make it big, you know? To have my music touch people's lives." Olivia nodded. She knew all too well how powerful dreams could be. "That's beautiful. Henry, are you able to perform often?" Henry saw a shadow move across his face. "Not as often as I'd like. It's tough getting regular gigs, especially in the better venues. Most days, I'm lucky if I can book a spot in a place like this." Olivia felt sorry for him. Even though they came from different places, she could tell. By the way, Henry spoke that he was struggling and was determined. It made her think of her own goals, which she had put off because she was afraid. "But you keep going," Olivia said in a low voice. "That's admirable." Henry said, "Yes," and a small smile came back to his face. "Music is everything to me. I can't imagine doing anything else. Even on the toughest days, when it feels like nothing's going right. I pick up my guitar and remember why I started this journey." Olivia was amazed at how much they had in common, even though they seemed to be very different. They believed in the power of music to touch hearts and the importance of following one's love. They also had the courage to chase their dreams, no matter what. Olivia kept going back to the small diner over and over again as the days turned into weeks. She would sneak out of her normal schedule and choose the comfort of vinyl booths and the smell of coffee over fancy cocktail parties. There was something about Henry that kept her coming back, though. Olivia's heart skipped a beat every time he went on stage. His deep voice filled the room and wrapped around her like a warm hug. His eyes were closed as he played with all his heart, and she would watch him with awe as his fingers danced across the strings. Olivia learned about a world that was very different from her own. As her friendship with him grew, she was deeply moved by Henry's determination in the face of hardship. He worked hard, doing odd jobs during the day and acting at night, but he never lost sight of his goals. His kindness also showed in everything he did, from helping an elderly customer carry their heavy tray, to giving words of support to another artist who was. Olivia didn't usually hang out with people who had these traits. In her normal social groups, money and social status were often used to measure success. With Henry, she felt like she had a new sense of purpose and sincerity. Olivia fell in love with Henry without even realizing it. The way his eyes wrinkled when he smiled, the fire in his voice when he talked about music, and the softness of his touch when they accidentally touched all, made her heart race in a way she had never felt before. At the same time, Henry was struggling with how he felt about Olivia getting stronger. His days were complete when she came to see him. He was excited to see her warm smile, hear her laugh at his jokes, and talk about their hopes and goals over lukewarm coffee from the diner. But as much as his heart raced when he was with Olivia, doubt kept biting him. Olivia, with her expensive clothes and well-behaved behavior, lived a life he could only dream of. And he, as a musician who was barely making ends meet, felt like he was living in a different world from hers. People Olivia's family knew something was different about her because she went to the diner more often. During their fancy meals, she seemed to be thinking about something else. With a soft smile on her face, Olivia's mother, Elizabeth, watched with rising worry as she checked her phone more and more. Olivia's parents caught her in the hallway of their mansion one night as she was getting ready to go to dinner. "Darling, where are you going?" Elizabeth asked, sounding fakely sweet. Olivia put her hand on the doorknob and thought for a moment. She was about to meet the mother of a friend. Richard, her father, moved forward with a frown on his face. An old friend or that musician from that dive bar? Olivia's heart sank. She squared her shoulders and turned to face her parents. "His name is Henry, and yes, I'm going to see him perform." Elizabeth's face turned red with anger. "Oh, Olivia, why are you being so serious? That guy is, well, he's not as important as you are." Olivia supported him, her voice shaking a little, saying, "He's a great musician with a good heart." Richard laughed. "An artist who is having a hard time and a black one at that." "Olivia, that's not okay at all. What do our friends think?" Olivia thought someone had hit her. "I can't believe you would say something so. That's so racist. Henry has nothing to do with who he is." Elizabeth told Olivia, "Don't be so naive. You're from two different places. It will never work." Olivia's eyes hurt from tears, but she blinked them back. "I know him better than you do. Henry works harder. cares more, and is more honest than anyone else I've met in our social groups." Richard's face turned serious. "This crush is over now, Olivia. There will be no way for you to give up your future for a poor dreamer." Olivia's grip on the doorknob got stronger. "I'm sorry you feel that way," she said, in a strong but quiet voice. "But the fact that you don't like Henry won't change how I feel about him." After that, she opened the door and walked out into the night, leaving her parents to stare after her in shock. Olivia's absence from her regular social events wasn't forgotten. As she spent more and more time with Henry at the diner, her friends started to talk to each other because she was always at their fancy parties and charity galas. Emily, Olivia's best friend, couldn't hold back her interest any longer. One afternoon at a fancy cafe. "Oh, Olivia, sweetheart, where have you been? We haven't seen you in weeks." Olivia paused and nervously stirred her latte. "I've been looking into new things." "New interests, or a new guy?" Mia added her voice. Olivia took a big breath because she felt trapped. "Well, yes, I have been seeing someone. His name is Henry, and he plays music." There was a moment of silence at the table before excited talk broke out. "A musician? How fun!" Emily yelled. "In what place does he perform? Why the symphony?" Olivia's lips turned red. "In fact, he plays at Joe's Diner in downtown." At the table, the joy quickly turned to confusion, and then to shock. "Joe's Diner?" Mia said it again, her nose wrinkled in disgust. "That run-down spot? It's not possible, Olivia." Olivia told him, serious. "Henry is incredibly smart and nice." Emily's eyes got bigger as she realized what was going on. "Wait, is that black guy singing there? Who wears that old leather jacket all the time?" Olivia nodded, getting ready for how they would respond. "Oh, Olivia," Mia said, with a snide tone in her voice. "You're not really giving up your life for some poor person, are you? He's not a noob." Olivia spoke up to defend herself. "He works hard and is passionate, and I care about him." The girls looked at each other knowingly, barely hiding how much they were laughing. Emily put her hand on Olivia's and said, "Honey, this is just a phase. You will understand soon enough." Olivia had to hold back tears as she left the cafe. Behind her, she could hear her friends laughing. It hurt her that they were mean, even though she knew they wouldn't understand. In the days that followed, Olivia was followed around by whispering and stares. People in their small town heard about it like wildfire. People talked about her shocking relationship everywhere at the country club, in shops, and even in the grocery store. "Have you heard about the Benjamin girl who was seen with a poor black musician? What a waste of time. She had a lot of promise." Even though the words hurt, they made Olivia more determined. It didn't matter how much people talked about or didn't like her feelings for Henry. She knew in her heart that they were real. Olivia kept seeing Henry even though her family and friends were getting more and more upset about it. In spite of problems, their relationship grew like a delicate flower. They loved every moment they spent together because it was a safe place to be away from everyone else's disapproval. When they were sitting on a park bench one evening to watch the sun go down, Henry's face formed a worry line. When he looked at Olivia, his eyes were full of love and worry. He said in a soft voice, "Olivia, I've been thinking. Maybe we should end this." Olivia's heart beat faster. "What? Why? What is it?" she asked, her voice shaking. Henry let out a sigh and ran his hand through his hair. "I hear what people say about you and how they see us. I can't stand to see you go through this because of me." Olivia reached out and grabbed Henry's hand. She told him, "Henry, pay attention. It doesn't matter what they think or say. The things we have are real and lovely." Henry began, "But your family and friends." Olivia shook her head, and tears were swimming in her eyes. "They don't get it yet, but they will. The most important thing is how we feel about each other." She leaned in closer, and her voice was upset. "Henry, I love you. I adore your warmth, your drive, And your songs. I love how alive you make me feel. That can't be changed by anything or anyone." Henry's eyes got bigger, and he looked like he was both surprised and happy. Do you love me?" Olivia smiled through her tears as she nodded. "From the bottom of my heart. I will always be with us, no matter what other people think." Henry wrapped his arms around her and kissed her deeply. His eyes were shining. "Yes, Olivia, I love you too. Thank you so much." The world around them seemed to fade away as they held each other. At that moment, their love felt stronger than anything that could happen. Olivia and Henry's love for each other got stronger when things went wrong. Henry asked her to marry him while they were sitting together in the park, where they often met. Olivia said yes right away, and tears filled her eyes with happiness. Everyone in town heard about their proposal very quickly. Olivia's family was the first to tell anyone. Her father approached her in their fancy living room, his face red with anger. "Oh no, Olivia, you can't be serious," he yelled. "To marry that guy? Are you crazy?" Olivia did not back down, and her voice stayed calm. "Dad, I love Henry. We're getting married." Her mother spoke up, and her voice was full of sneering. "Forget about your trust fund if you go through with this. We are going to cut you off completely." Olivia had a pain in her heart, but she was determined not to give up. She said, "If that's what you think is best, then so be it." She could hear her parents fighting about what they did wrong as she left the house where she grew up. Olivia's friends also had harsh things to say. Sarah, her best friend, approached her in a nearby cafe. "Olivia, what do you think?" Sarah hissed. "You're giving up your life for a poor musician." Olivia's eyes were red and hurt. "Henry is smart and nice. I enjoy being with him. I thought you'd get it." Sarah turned her head away. "I'm sorry, but I can't agree with this. We can't do it." Olivia's friends slowly pulled away from her. "Not as many people invited me to parties and events." She became more and more cut off from the people she used to know. There was a lot of talk in the town. Olivia heard whispers and saw sharp looks everywhere. She went. She heard two women talking at the food store. "Did you hear that the girl from Benjamin married that black musician from the diner?" One said. "What a waste. She had everything, and now she's throwing it all away," said the other person. Olivia's cheeks hurt from being ashamed and mad, but she kept her head up. In her heart, she knew that Henry was more important to her than any amount of money or fame. It was a crisp fall morning on the day of Olivia and Henry's wedding, and everyone was both happy and sad. The restaurant where they met for the first time had been changed for the event. Simple white streamers hung from the roof, and each table had a vase of wildflowers on it. It wasn't fancy, but it worked out great for them. Olivia stood in the small office in the back, which had been turned into a makeshift bridal room. Her hands were shaking a little as she smoothed down her simple white dress. The people in her life who had decided not to be there made her heart hurt, even though it felt full. On edge, Henry waited by the bar in his best suit. His eyes lit up when Olivia walked in. She looked beautiful even though she wasn't wearing any expensive jewelry or a fashion dress. The bride was greeted with a warm smile by Henry's small group of friends and the diner staff. Olivia was filled with a lot of different feelings as she walked toward Henry. When she saw the man she loved, her heart filled with joy. His eyes were filled with love. Still, she couldn't help but look at the empty seats where her parents and school friends should have been. It was a short and sweet service led by the owner of the diner, who had become a priest just for the event. Olivia's voice shook with emotion as they said their vows. Through tears, she told him, "Henry, you've shown me what real love is all about. With you, I found a home I never knew I was missing." Henry softly squeezed her hands, and his own eyes got blurry. "Olivia, you've given me more than I ever dreamed possible. I promise to love you and stand by you no matter what life throws our way." They sealed their vows with a kiss. The small crowd cheered and clapped. The air was filled with the comforting smell of coffee and pie. which took them back to the place where their love story started. Olivia and Henry moved into a simple one-bedroom apartment on the edge of town after the wedding. Olivia had grown up in a huge house, so this place was very different from that. But it felt like home to her. Olivia had a hard time with simple jobs she had never had to do before in the first few weeks, because she was so used to making changes. The kitchen smelled terrible because she burned their first home-cooked meal. When they got pizza instead, Henry couldn't help but laugh, and Olivia soon joined in. Even though she was covered in flour and tomato sauce, she slid into Henry's arms and said, "I'll get better at this, I promise. We'll learn together," he told her, kissing her on the cheek. The love between them made the small room feel warm and cozy, but the world outside wasn't so nice. Olivia was followed by whispers whenever she went into town. She heard two women chatting at the food store. "Can you believe she's living in that rundown building now?" a friend asked. "I heard she's working as a waitress." The other person answered, "The powerful have fallen." Olivia kept her head up even though her cheeks hurt. Even though she was new to this life, she was set on making it work. Olivia had, in fact, taken a job at a nearby coffee shop, since Henry's gigs were still not regular. She felt proud that she was making her own money, even though the work was hard and her feet hurt at the end of each shift. As they sat on their used couch one night, Olivia saw that Henry looked worried. She took his hand and asked, "What's wrong?" Henry let out a sigh. I hate that you have to work so hard, and that I can't provide for you the way your family did." Olivia felt love fill her heart. "Oh, Henry," she whispered, "don't you see? This life with you, it's worth more than all the luxury in the world." As the weeks turned into months, Henry still couldn't find steady gigs. He called a lot of people, sent out demos, and played at any place that would have him. But the big break he was hoping for never came. Olivia did different jobs around town to help them reach their goal. In her free time, she cleaned homes, walked dogs, and even helped high school students with their work. Every dollar she made helped pay for their small apartment and Henry's music business. But the weight of the town's scorn was getting harder and harder to bear. A lot of the time, Olivia could tell when someone was looking at her as she walked down the street, because they kept whispering to her. Olivia overheard a group of her old friends talking at the grocery store on a very bad day. One of them said, "Look at her. From silk dresses to cleaning rags. What a waste." Olivia felt terrible about what she had done, but she shook her head and kept shopping. Later that night, as she cleaned someone else's toilet, she felt tears running down her face. The life she picked was tougher than she thought it would be. She was tired and down when she got home, and Henry was hunched over his guitar and scribbling frantically in his notebook. When he saw her, his face lit up. He was excited and said, "Liv, I think I've got something here. This could be the song that changes everything." As Olivia listened to Henry play, her tiredness went away. His deep voice filled their small room, and for a moment, everything they were going through seemed worth it. She had faith in his skills with all of her heart. "It's beautiful, Henry," she told him, her eyes full of pride and purpose. "We're going to make this work. I know we will." Olivia stayed determined despite the problems. She knew that the town would stop judging them because of their love and Henry's undeniable ability. In spite of everything, she was set on seeing Henry succeed. Olivia and Henry had their first child, a beautiful girl they named Lily. As winter set in on the town, when she moved in, she brought them new happiness and filled their small flat with warmth and laughter. But their happiness didn't last long. Lily got a fever that wouldn't go away when she was only 3 months old. When Olivia and Henry thought she was sick, they rushed her to the hospital. The doctor told the mother, "Your daughter has a severe infection. She'll need to stay here for treatment." Olivia felt bad as she held Lily in her arms. The worry and fear on Henry's face showed as he stood next to her, while Lily's condition slowly got better. Over the course of the days and weeks, her hospital bills kept going up. It felt like Henry had a lot of duty upon him. "I'll figure something out," he told Olivia, his voice tense with desire. "We'll get through this." With new desperation, Henry threw himself into his songs. He did any job he could find, no matter how small or low-paying it was. He played in seedy bars, at birthday parties, and even on the street, with his guitar case open to get extra change. Henry always got home late at night, after Olivia had gone to sleep. His fingers were sore from playing, and his voice was hoarse. He would pass out and go to sleep. A few hours later, he would wake up and have to start all over again. Olivia was getting more and more worried as she saw Henry push himself to the point of exhaustion. He had dark rings under his eyes, and his shoulders were slouched from being tired. "Henry, you need to rest," she begged him one night as he was getting ready to go to another show. He said, "I can't," in a voice that was almost a whisper. "Lily needs me. I have to do this." Olivia's heart broke when Henry walked out the door. In ways she had never thought possible, their love was being put to the test. For Lily's sake and for their own, she prayed that they would make it through the storm. A lot of people in town talked about Olivia and Henry's problems as the hard winter winds blew through. People in town used to look up to Olivia from a distance, and now they didn't like her at all. Olivia wrapped up little Lily in a blanket and took her to the store one cold afternoon. A woman was walking down the aisles pushing a noisy, old cart, when she heard two women talking behind her. "Poor thing," one said, without lowering her voice. "Look at her now, shopping for bargains. What a fall from grace." The other person laughed at her and said, "That's what happens when you marry below you." She had it all, and she threw it away for that musician. Olivia was so embarrassed that her cheeks hurt, but she kept her head up and kept shopping. To make ends meet, she worked hard to find the best deals and stretch every dollar. Later that week, Olivia was waiting at the bus stop to go. Lily in the hospital when she saw a brand new car carrying a group of her old friends. When they got close, the windows rolled down as they slowed down. Someone made fun of Olivia and said, "Hey, Olivia, need a ride? Oh, wait. You probably can't afford to chip in for gas anymore, can you?" The car laughed as it drove off quickly, leaving Olivia standing outside in the cold. She tried not to cry, and her hands were shaking as she held onto her old bag. Olivia found strength in her love for Henry and Lily, even though she was constantly being made fun of and criticized. When she got home from work each night, she would look at the picture of Lily on their bedside table and feel even more determined. "There's more love in my life than I ever knew," she whispered to herself. As the winter days got colder, Olivia's problems seemed to get worse. One night, Olivia got a call from her mother while Henry was performing at a small club across town. Her heart raced as she saw her mother's number flash on the screen, and she answered the phone with shaking hands. "Hi, Olivia, darling," her mother's voice said, sounding both worried and angry. "We can't stand by and watch you suffer any longer." Olivia's mother told her that the family was ready to help financially. They would pay for Lily's medical bills, find them a nice apartment, and even help Henry get a regular job in music production. But there was a catch. "Olivia, you need to leave Henry and go home. Think about it, sweetheart," her mother told her. "You could give Lily the life she deserves. No more hard times and no more being made fun of by the town. You could go back to where you belong." Olivia's thoughts were racing. The offer was appealing. It would help them get out of their financial problems and give Lily the best care possible. For a moment, she let herself imagine a life without stress and criticism all the time. But then she remembered Henry's warm smile, the way his eyes lit up when he played music, and the love that filled their small home. She remembered the look of happiness on his face when Lily was born and the many nights they had spent comforting each other through their problems. Olivia took a deep breath and made her choice. "Mom, thanks for the offer. I want to leave Henry, but I can't. I love my husband very much. We're a family." It was clear how upset her mother was. Olivia, don't be silly. Think about your future and Lily's future. Olivia answered, I am thinking about our future. A future full of love and persistence. We don't have much, but we have each other. That is worth a lot more than money. Olivia felt a weight lift off her shoulders as she hung up the phone. She knew the road ahead would be hard, but she believed in the strength of their love, and knew that she and Henry would get through it together. Over the course of a few weeks, Henry's busy schedule started to show. Dark circles started to form under his eyes, and his once bright smile turned tired. Olivia became more and more worried as she saw her husband push himself even harder, desperate to support their family. Olivia couldn't hold back her fears any longer. Henry, honey, we need to talk, she said softly as she helped him to the couch. One night, it was late, and Henry fell asleep on the cushions. What's wrong, Liv? He asked. His voice was hoarse from singing for hours. He asked. Olivia sat down next to him and put her rough hands on his. I'm worried about you, she said. It's not good for you to work yourself so hard like that. It was tired, but Henry shook his head and said, I have to keep going, Liv. I can't let you and Lily down because we need the money. How much does it cost? Olivia begged. You don't sleep much, you've lost weight, and I can see how much pain you're in. Henry, please slow down. Henry pulled his hands away, and his words got angrier. Slow down? We're barely getting by as it is, so how can I slow down? My family and I need me to do this. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. I know you are, and I love you for it. Henry, I'm scared. What if you get sick? Fear that wasn't said hung heavy in the air between them. Henry stood up quickly, wincing as his tired muscles begged him to stop. I can't stop now, Olivia. I'm almost done with the big job. It's there for me. Things will get better in a little while. You'll see. Olivia felt a knot in her stomach as he walked off to take a shower. She liked how determined Henry was, but she couldn't get rid of the thought that his stubbornness might lead to something worse than money problems. After a long day at work, Henry stumbled into their small apartment one night. His face was pale, and he was walking funny. Olivia rushed to his side, her face drawn with worry. Henry, are you okay? Her voice was shaking as she asked. He tried to answer, but he couldn't find the words. All of a sudden, his eyes rolled back, and he fell to the ground. Henry, Olivia screamed, and her heart quickly beat faster in her chest. She quickly called 911, her hands shaking as she did so. Soon, an ambulance arrived, and Olivia rode with Henry to the hospital, holding his hand tightly the whole way. She held him close and whispered words of comfort to him while he was unconscious. Once they got to the hospital, Olivia paced the waiting room, her mind racing with the worst-case scenarios that could happen. After what seemed like forever, a doctor came up to her and said, Mrs. Thompson. He said in a soft voice, your husband is now stable. He passed out because he was so tired and thirsty. He needs to rest and get better. However, the doctor wasn't done yet. I strongly advise that he takes a break from performing, the doctor said. His body can't handle this level of stress anymore. Olivia let out a sigh of relief. He needs some time to get better. Olivia thanked the doctor and then went to see Henry. When she got to his room, she felt sick to her stomach, because he looked so weak and small in the hospital bed. Henry's eyes opened wide as she walked in. Liv, he whispered. I'm here, honey, she told him, grabbing his hand. How are you? There were tears in Henry's eyes as he said, I'm so sorry, Liv. I let you and Lily down. I was too weak to keep going for our family. Olivia's heart hurt when she heard what he said. She held his face tenderly and wiped away his tears with her fingers. Oh, Henry, no, you haven't let us down. It's been too hard for you to work. But the most important thing is that you are healthy and here with us. As Henry slowly got better in the hospital, Olivia had to take care of their family by herself. Before leaving the hospital, she gave Henry a soft kiss on the forehead. Each morning, Olivia worked hard at several jobs, long hours, to make ends meet. She waited tables at the diner where she and Henry met, cleaned houses in the wealthy neighborhood she used to live in, and even worked the night shift at a nearby convenience store. A lot of work and fear made the days pass quickly. Olivia always found time for Lily, even when she was very tired. She would rush home between shifts to feed and rock her daughter while singing the songs that Henry used to do. Olivia had the strength to keep going because of these special times with Lily. Olivia's face began to show how stressed she was about what was going on. Under her eyes, dark rings started to show up, and she lost her once perfect look. But her love for Henry and Lily was stronger than ever, which made her even more determined. Olivia was rushing around town between jobs, and people were staring and whispering about her. The townspeople's jokes about Henry had gotten worse since he fell. As Olivia walked by, one woman laughed and sneered. "Look at her now. From riches to rags. I bet she regrets throwing it all away for that musician," someone said. "She could have had it all, but she chose this life instead. What a fool." Olivia kept her head up, even though the words hurt. Deep down, she knew that the love she had with Henry and the family they had together was more valuable than all the money she had left behind. Olivia kept thinking about the choice she'd made every night as she fell asleep, tired, but proud of her work. She had picked love over comfort and kindness over wealth. And no matter how hard things got, she was determined to stick to her choice. Olivia took care of Lily and worked multiple jobs at the same time. At home, Henry slowly got stronger. In their small flat, the weight of their problems hung heavy, but their love for each other did not change. Olivia came home from work at the diner one night to find Henry sitting on their old couch and looking at his phone in shock. His eyes were wide, and his face showed that he was both scared and excited. "You won't believe what just happened, Olivia," he said, in a voice that was almost a whisper. Olivia sat next to him, and with tired eyes, full of worry, she watched him. "What is it, Henry?" Henry took a big breath. "I got a call from the producer of Starlight Stage. They want me to fill in as the lead singer for the melodics on this week's show. Their usual singer is sick, and they heard about me from someone who saw me perform at the diner." Olivia was shocked. "Oh, Henry, those melodies on the Starlight Stage are amazing." Henry answered with a nod, but his face stayed blank. "It's just a one-time thing, but it could be my big break, a chance to show my talent to millions of people." While Olivia squeezed his hand, her heart swelled with pride. She saw doubt in his eyes. "What's wrong, honey? Aren't you excited?" Henry let out a sigh and ran his hand through his hair. "I am, but I'm scared, Liv. What if I'm not ready? What if my health isn't up to it? We've been through so much, and I don't want to let you down again." Olivia put her hands around Henry's face and looked into her eyes with love and determination. "Henry Thompson, listen to me. You are the most talented, hardworking person I know. This is your chance to shine, to show the world what I've always seen in you." Olivia stopped Henry before he could say, "But what if?" "No what ifs. You've worked so hard for this. You deserve this opportunity. I believe in you, Henry. We all do. Me, Lily, even the folks at the din. This is your moment." Henry looked into Olivia's eyes and felt stronger because she had faith in him no matter what. He slowly started to smile. "You're right," he said, in a low voice. "I can do this. We can do this." Olivia hugged him close, and for the first time in months, her heart was full of hope. As they held each other, they knew they would be okay, no matter what did happen. Finally, the night of the Starlight Stage show came around. Henry stood behind the scenes with a racing heart. Olivia smiled and squeezed his hand to make him feel better. She said in a whisper, "You've got this," her eyes shining with pride. Henry stepped out on stage after taking a big breath. He couldn't see for a moment because of the bright lights. But once his eyes got used to them, he saw a sea of faces in the crowd. He put his eyes shut, grabbed the mic, and started to sing. Something magical began with the first note. The room was filled with Henry's deep, rich voice. The crowd went silent because of how moving his performance was. Henry put his whole heart into every word and note he sang. He thought about Olivia, Lily, and all the hard times they had been through together. His voice was high and filled with all the pain, love, and hope of their journey. Even though the band behind him played beautifully, Henry was the one who owned the stage. His energy was electric, and you could feel his fire. As he played the last, most powerful note of the song, the studio exploded in wild applause. The crowd jumped up and down, cheering and clapping loudly. Henry just stood there, out of breath and shocked by the answer. Olivia was crying as she cheered loudly in the stands when he saw her. As Henry left the stage, the producers and team of the show rushed up to him and praised his amazing performance. He could not stop his phone from buzzing with alerts. A few hours later, clips of Henry's act were going viral on social media. Henry Thompson was all over the news, and thousands of people shared the video and said how talented he was. By morning, Henry's life had changed a lot. Calls came in all the time from record labels, talent agents, and news outlets, wanting to get a piece of the newest big thing in music. When the sun came up the next morning, Henry and Olivia were both thrilled and shocked. Their small apartment, which used to represent how hard things were for them, was now filled with the steady ringing of Henry's phone. There was a lot of competition for his interest from record labels, talent agents, and TV producers. Olivia sat at their small kitchen table and helped Henry sort through all of the emails and texts. Her eyes were wide with wonder. "I can't believe this is happening," she said in a deeply felt whisper. He put his hand on hers across the table and squeezed it. "We did it, Liv. You never stopped believing in me." The town that had laughed at them before started to change its mind. When word got out about Henry's big discovery, when Olivia married a poor black musician, people made fun of her. But now, they were amazed when Henry's name showed up in news and on billboards. Olivia heard two happy women whispering as she walked down the street with Lily in her arms one afternoon. "Did you see Henry Thompson on TV last night? I can't believe he's from our town. And to think we all thought Olivia was crazy for marrying him. Looks like she knew something we didn't." Olivia cracked a smile to herself and squeezed Lily even tighter. In the warm glow of Henry's success, the criticism and ridicule that had been so heavy on her shoulders seemed to melt away. Henry spent a lot of time at home going over contract offers from big record labels. His eyes were sparkling with joy as he told Olivia what was going on. "Can you believe it, Liv? They want to sign me for a 3-album deal. And look at these tour dates." Olivia was so proud of herself. "I always knew you could do it, Henry. Your talent was too big to stay hidden forever." Their lives began to change in ways they had only imagined as the days went by. The new house was bigger and more comfortable for them. They could finally give their daughter Lily the best care now that her hospital bills were paid off. The Thompson family's life changed as Henry's business took off. They moved into a lovely 2-story house on the edge of town that had a big garden where Lily could play. Their flat was very small, so the house was a big change. Olivia often thought about how far they'd come. Olivia and Henry were finally able to give Lily the best medical care possible. After getting their finances in order, they took her to the best doctors, and her health started to get a lot better. Both parents were moved to tears when they saw their daughter laughing and playing for hours on end without getting tired. People in the town started to change their minds as word of Henry's success spread. It was the same people who used to spread mean rumors that now spoke highly of Henry and Olivia. People would stop Olivia in the grocery store, the bank, and even on the street to tell her how proud they were of Henry. "We always knew he had talent," they'd say, forgetting the bad things they had said about him in the past. Olivia would smile. "Well, but she couldn't help but feel hurt when she thought about how harshly they had been judged. As Olivia worked in her small yard one sunny afternoon, a sleek car pulled up in front of their house. As soon as she saw her parents leave, her heart skipped a beat. They slowly made their way up, taking in the beautiful house and well-kept yard. Her mother called out, "Olivia, dear," but her voice was tense with worry. "We've been thinking, perhaps we were too hasty in our judgment." Her dad said, "We've seen Henry's success. We're proud of what you two have accomplished." Olivia slowly stood up and rubbed her hands clean. These were the people who had turned their backs on her when she needed them the most. She felt a lot of different feelings at once. She missed her family. She was angry at them for what they had done in the past. And she was scared about their sudden change of heart. "Thank you," she said straight out, in a quiet voice. "It's been a long journey." Her parents moved closer, and you could see hope in their eyes. Her mother told her, "We'd like to be a part of your lives again. To get to know our granddaughter." Olivia took a deep breath, and her hand moved to the locket that Henry had given her, as a sign of their love that would last forever. Her mind went back to everything they had been through together and how strong they had become. "I appreciate you coming," Olivia said, "but it's not that simple. We've been through a lot, and it will take time to rebuild trust." Henry's fame grew, but he and Olivia stayed grounded and never forgot the hard times they had been through together. They often watched Lily play in the yard from their back porch and talked about how they had come from nothing. Henry would smile and shake his head. "Remember that little apartment?" That's what Olivia would say. "I live there again in a heartbeat if it meant being with you." Even though hard times had tried their love, it had only grown stronger. They agreed to use their newfound money and power to help the people who had turned their backs on them before. Henry started a music program at the community center in his area. He gave poor kids who wanted to be musicians free lessons. He would spend hours there, teaching others and supporting young artists. He would wink at Olivia and say, "You never know where the next big star might come from." Olivia, meanwhile, worked hard to help families who were having a hard time paying their hospital bills. She created an organization that helped people in similar situations to what they were going through with Lily's illness by giving them money. One day, Olivia saw Henry deep in talk with a young man who didn't think much of his luck while they were volunteering at a nearby soup kitchen. "That could have been me," Henry said in a soft voice. Later, "If it wasn't for you believing in me, Liv, I might have ended up there." Olivia gave him a tight hug. "We're in this together, always have been, always will be." Their connection had grown stronger after going through a lot. They went through trials that almost split them up. They faced each day together, and their bond could not be broken. Henry sang a song he had written just for Lily as they put her to bed that night. Olivia leaned against the door frame and loved her family very much. When she thought about how far they had come, she felt thankful. As the months went by, Olivia's family kept trying to get back in touch. They wrote her sweet letters, called her, and even just showed up at her door without warning. Each time, they said they were sorry for what they did and asked for forgiveness. Olivia had trouble with these movements. When she thought about her family, she missed them, but she also felt very badly about the mean things they had said and done. Henry heard with patience and offered his support as she talked about it with him many nights. Henry would hold her close and say, "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." Olivia made a choice after giving it a lot of thought. She suggested that her parents meet her in a neutral place, like a quiet park, so they could talk freely. Olivia took a deep breath when they got there. She started with a calm voice, "I've thought long and hard about this. I've decided to forgive you." Olivia put out her hand, but her parents' faces lit up with hope. Her mother broke down in tears, and her father looked down in shame. "But I want you to understand something. I will never forget how you treated me and Henry, what you said, how you left us when we needed you the most. That hurt very much. I'm ready to let you back into my life, but there will be rules. We can start with quick visits, like dinner once in a while, but it will take time to rebuild trust." Olivia's parents agreed, realizing how important what she said was. "And one more thing," Olivia said in a strong voice. "Henry and Lily are now my family. If you want to be a part of our lives, you need to fully accept and respect them." Her parents agreed and said they would do better. Olivia felt relieved, hopeful, and a little worn out as they said their goodbyes that day. She knew that the path ahead wouldn't be simple, but she was set on making it her own. Once the locals made fun of Olivia and Henry, they felt mixed emotions when they heard about Henry's success. They were impressed, sad, and jealous of their new life. They understood they were wrong to be so harsh with the couple. To make things right, a group of business owners and community leaders in the area planned a special event. They chose to hold a concert in honor of Henry at the diner where he and Olivia met and fell in love. The managers worked hard to turn the simple diner into a magical place. They put up a small stage, hung lights that sparkled, and covered the walls with pictures that showed Henry and Olivia's trip. The diner was so full on the night of the music that people spilled out onto the sidewalk, excited to be a part of the fun. The crowd cheered and applauded when Olivia and Henry walked in hand. Olivia was crushed by all the love started to well up in her eyes. Inside, they saw familiar faces, the diner staff who had seen their relationship grow, as well as some of the people who had once been very critical of them. The air was filled with feeling and love. At the start of the show, some of Henry's original songs were played by local musicians. Olivia and Henry sat in their old booth, where they had had their first talk. While music played in the background, they loved each other and were amazed at how far they had come. As they looked at each other, Henry whispered and squeezed Olivia's hand. "Can you believe this?" Olivia shook her head because she was so touched she couldn't say anything. She thought about the times when people made fun of them and things were hard for them. She had no idea that one day, the whole town would come together to celebrate their love and Henry's ability. The mayor got up to speak after the last song was over. "Henry, Olivia," he said, with a sincere voice. "On behalf of our town, we want to apologize for how we treated you. Your love and perseverance have taught us all a valuable lesson. This concert is our way of saying thank you for showing us the power of love and determination." Everyone looked at Henry when the mayor took his turn on the mic. He walked to the stage by giving Olivia's hand a light squeeze. The crowd went silent, and you could feel their excitement. Henry took a big breath and looked around the room before focusing on Olivia. "This first song is for Olivia, my love," he said, in a soft but clear voice. "You were the only person who believed in me when no one else did." Olivia could feel her heart beating faster as the first sounds filled the air. It was the song Henry played when they met for the first time. The tune wrapped around her like a warm hug and made her think of the early days they spent together. Henry's deep, rich voice carried the weight of their journey in every word he sang. He sang about love that beat the odds and dreams that kept going even when things got hard. Many people in the crowd wiped tears from their eyes as they listened. Henry gave every song on stage his all. Each tune told a story of struggle, hope, and love that never changes. He dedicated every song to Olivia, and his eyes would often meet hers in the crowd, showing a level of thankfulness that words could not describe. No one in the house could hold back tears as Henry sang his last song, a ballad he'd written during their worst times. The raw emotion in Henry's words moved everyone in the town, even the toughest ones. As soon as the last note ended, there was a moment of silence before the diner erupted in wild clapping. Large groups of people stood up and cheered and clapped loudly. Henry bowed his head in thanks because he was overwhelmed by the reaction. Olivia walked up to the stage with tears running down her face. He pulled her into a tight hug as she got to Henry. The crowd cheered even louder when they saw this act of love. "Thank you," Henry said in Olivia's ear, but his voice was sobbing. "For everything," Olivia said, her eyes full of love and pride. "We did this together," she said, in a soft voice. Olivia and Henry felt so thankful as they stood there, surrounded by the kindness and support of the people in the community. They knew it had all been worth it at that moment, even though the trip had been long and hard. After the cheers stopped, Henry gently let go of Olivia and went back to the microphone. He looked around the room and saw the faces of the people who had seen them when they were bad. The first thing he said was, "Thank you all for being here tonight." His voice was real and warm. Crowd leaned in close to hear what he had to say. "I want to share something important with you. Something that's at the heart of every song I write." Henry went on, "My journey hasn't been easy, but it's taught me some important lessons. First, that anyone can make their dreams come true with hard work and dedication." He paused, giving his words time to sink in. "Second, that love knows no color. It doesn't care about race or social status. It only cares about what's in your heart." Olivia smiled at him, and tears of happiness filled her eyes. And finally, Henry said, his voice getting stronger, "Accepting differences makes us all richer. It lets us see and experience things from different points of view." Many people in the crowd nodded their heads in agreement as they heard. When some people were faced with their past opinions, they shifted uncomfortably. Racist attitudes from the past hung heavy in the air, but there was also hope and a shared wish to do better. "We're all a part of this community," Henry said, with a tear in his eye. "And when we support each other, when we celebrate our differences, instead of fearing them, there's nothing we can't achieve." Once more, the diner exploded in cheers, but this time it was different. Not only did they like Henry's songs, they promised to change, grow, and be better. The crowd rose to their feet and applauded with genuine warmth and admiration as Henry's song came to an end. As Olivia and Henry stood there together, the diner was filled with a warm glow of love and acceptance. As people started to talk to each other, a small group of people went up to the couple. Olivia knew them to be important people in the community: the mayor of the town, the head of a nearby school, and the director of a homeless shelter. "That was truly inspiring," the mayor said, and her eyes lit up with emotion. "We've been watching your journey, and we're amazed by your resilience and love." Henry smiled and put his hand on Olivia's. "Thank you. It hasn't been easy, but we're grateful for where we are now." The head of the school spoke up. "We were wondering if you'd consider getting involved in some of our community projects. Your story could really make a difference." Olivia and Henry looked at each other and talked about how they wished they had more help when they were having problems. Olivia was interested and asked, "What kinds of projects did you have in mind?" The head of the homeless shelter spoke up. "We're starting a music program for underprivileged youth, Henry. Your experience could be invaluable in inspiring these kids." Henry's eyes got bright. "That sounds amazing. I'd love to help." The mayor gave an eager nod. "And Olivia, we're working on a mentorship program for young women facing adversity. Your strength and perseverance would be so inspiring." Olivia's chest felt warm. She said, "It would be an honor to be a part of that." Olivia and Henry felt like they had a purpose as they talked about more ideas. They understood that the hard parts of their journey had given them a unique way to help other people. Henry looked at Olivia to make sure she was sure. "We'd love to get involved." She smiled and nodded. "Yes," Olivia replied. "We want to use our experiences to make a positive change in our community and beyond." The leaders of the community were beaming with pride as they began to make plans for future events and meetings. Olivia and Henry felt like a new part of their lives was beginning. They could use their fame to help others who were going through similar things by spreading love, acceptance, and hope. It became more and more important to Olivia and Henry to make a bigger difference in the neighborhood. They knew that education was the best way to get along with each other and break down boundaries. In light of this, they chose to use a big chunk of Henry's salary to open a primary school in their town. The couple worked hard to make their dream come true. to make a school that would really make a difference. They talked to parents, neighborhood leaders, and education experts. The Thompson-Benjamin School of Dreams finally opened its doors after months of planning and building. The school was different from all the others in the area. Its walls were full of art and motivational words. The classrooms were made to encourage students to be creative and work together. And the field had lots of things that kids could use their imaginations and make everyone feel welcome. The school's lessons were centered around following your dreams and knowing how important it is to work hard. Teachers were carefully chosen not only based on their academic credentials, but also on their ability to motivate and guide young minds. As the school opened, Olivia said, "We want these kids to know that their dreams are real, no matter where they come from." As she spoke to the parents, students, and people from the neighborhood, tears filled her eyes. Henry agreed and nodded, "And we want them to understand that achieving those dreams takes hard work and perseverance. But with dedication, anything is possible." The school's lessons were meant to stress creativity, variety, and the value of never giving up. Traditional subjects were given the same amount of weight as art and music classes, and students were encouraged to follow their interests and build their own unique skills. The school marked diversity by putting up flags from different countries on the walls, and having books with characters from a range of backgrounds in the library. For students to learn about different customs and ways of life, there were regular culture events. People quickly learned about the Thompson-Benjamin School of Dreams' unique way of teaching. Kids from all walks of life flocked to its bright halls, excited to learn and grow in this one-of-a-kind setting. Parents and students both really liked the school's concept of accepting differences and fostering each person's unique skills. Teachers pushed for open conversations and creative ways to solve problems in the class. For some reason, a shy girl named Maya found her voice during a project about everyday heroes. She talked very strongly about her grandmother, who had moved to the town many years ago and worked very hard to support her family. The class paid close attention and looked with wide eyes of admiration. She said, "That's what we call perseverance," and her teacher smiled. Maya's grandmother is a perfect example of how hard work can make dreams come true. Because of Henry's journey, the school's music program became very famous. Children who had never played an instrument before were soon strummed guitars and tapped out drum beats. A group of students sang a song they had written about following their dreams at a gathering that everyone will remember. No one in the room could keep their eyes open as the last notes died away. Olivia and Henry went to the school a lot and told the kids their story. They were honest about the problems they had been through and how important it is to believe in yourself. A lot of the kids, especially those who didn't have much, related to what they said. After one of these talks, a young boy told his friend, "If Mr. Henry can become a famous singer, maybe I can be a doctor like I've always wanted." Beyond the school's walls, parents said that their kids' attitudes and actions had changed for the better at home. When people in the community started to notice, they started to offer internships and mentorship programs to older kids at the school. As the months went by, the Thompson-Benjamin School of Dreams became a source of hope for the whole area. It was proof of what could be done when people with the same goal of freedom and inclusion worked together. Together, Olivia and Henry were proud to see their dream of making a change grow. They were sure that every child who came through those doors would be given the tools to make the future better for everyone in the community. Olivia and Henry's trip from being social outcasts to well-liked members of the community became a powerful example of how love and persistence can change things. People all over town heard about them like wildfire, and it touched people's hearts and changed their minds. People who went to the local diner where Olivia and Henry's love story began now spoke highly of them. The whispers that used to be mean had changed into words of praise and encouragement. "You know, I used to think they were crazy," Mrs. Johnson, who often ate at the diner, told her friend over coffee. But look at them now. They've shown us all what real love can do. People talked about their story in more than just social settings. The town's yearly festival used to be separate for different racial groups. But now, it's a celebration of unity and diversity. Because Olivia and Henry set a good example, the event's leaders made a point of including people from all walks of life in the planning and running of the event. Henry sang a moving song he had written about his and Olivia's journey at the event. A lot of people in the crowd were moved to tears by his soulful singing. They thought that Olivia and Henry's story showed how prejudiced they were and how things could change. People changed their minds and hearts because of how kind and generous the couple was. With their newfound money and power, they set up scholarships for students from poor families and paid for projects to improve the neighborhood. Their deeds, not their words, showed that being successful didn't mean forgetting where you came from. When Olivia and Henry helped fix up the old community center, it was a very moving moment. Barriers of race and class seemed to melt away as they worked with people from all walks of life. As they painted walls and put together furniture, people who had never met before started laughing and telling stories to each other. I never thought I'd be working with Olivia Benjamin. Mr. Peterson, a longtime local who was known for having biased views in the past, said with a laugh. But here we are, and you know what? She's just as down to earth as anyone else. Olivia, Henry, and their daughter Lily went to the school they made as soon as the sun came up on a cool fall morning. With the colorful leaves in the background, the building stood tall and strong, a sign of their love and determination. With each other by their sides, they walked through the gates to the happy sounds of kids playing in the playground. As Olivia and Henry watched the diverse group of students laugh and learn together, Olivia's heart swelled with joy. "Look at them," Olivia whispered to Henry, her eyes shining with happiness. Henry agreed, his voice heavy with emotion. "They're all so happy and full of hope. We did this, Olivia. We created a place where every child feels valued and encouraged to dream big." Lily pulled on her parents' hands because she was ready to go play with her friends. Olivia and Henry smiled and let her go. They watched as she ran off to play. They stopped in the halls to look at the art on the walls as they walked by. Each piece told a story about how dreams can bring people together and make them stronger. They could see parts of their own journey in those bright pictures and honest words. They saw a teacher teaching a lesson on persistence in one of the classes. The kids were interested and told stories about how they overcame problems. Olivia and Henry looked at each other knowingly as they thought about the problems they had been through together. "You know," Henry whispered, "sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come from that little diner to here." Olivia put her head on his shoulder. "It wasn't always easy, but our love got us through. And look at what we've built because of it." When they got back to the playground, they saw Lily playing with a group of kids from different places. Their hearts were full with happiness when they saw it. Not only did they change their own lives, but they also made their town more accepting and united. Olivia and Henry felt the weight of their journey as they stood there and watched the kids play and learn. This beautiful thing was made after a lot of hard work, tears, and doubt. Not only had their love passed the test of time and social pressure, it had also grown into something that touched many people's lives. Let me know in the comments section what interests you the most in this story. It takes me lots of time to put this story together for you. Kindly leave a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and share this video. Also, check out our channel for more stories like this. Let's meet over there.